Every single day, we all use this kind of secret language to talk about the world around us. It's a language of numbers that, funny enough, often doesn't use numbers at all. We're talking about a special kind of word, and today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly how they work. Just think about it for a sec. When you're telling a story, you might say you saw some birds, or many cars, or maybe you ate several cookies. Those words, they paint a picture, right? And that is exactly what we're diving into today. So what's the official name for these things? Well, they're called numeral adjectives. I know it's a bit of a fancy term, but all it really means is words that tell us about quantity. They're like these tools in our language toolkit that let us be super precise or, intentionally vague. It all depends on what we're trying to do. And it turns out, we've kind of sorted these tools into 3 main buckets. We're going to break them all down, one by one, so you can really see the structure of this secret language we're all speaking. First up, we've got the most straightforward category, the definite adjectives. This is the toolkit you reach for when you know the exact number and you want to be crystal clear. No guesswork here, folks. So check this out. We've got 3 main ways to be precise. First, there are cardinals. These are your basic counting numbers. Then you have ordinals, which are all about putting things in order. And finally, multiplicatives, which tell you how many times or how many fold. Let's see them in action. Simple, right? 6. Not 5, not 7, exactly 6. This is a cardinal adjective. It gives you a direct, clean answer to the question, how many apples? It's definite. And here's a perfect example of an ordinal. First doesn't tell us how many people walked on the moon. It tells us Neil Armstrong's specific place in line. It's all about the sequence, the order. And our last definite example here is a multiplicative. Double implies twofold, right? A room for 2. It's just another way of being really specific without having to say the number 2. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Okay, so what happens when we don't know the exact number? Or maybe we just don't need to be that specific? Well, that's where our second toolkit comes in handy, the indefinite adjectives. This is all about estimation and generalization. Now, the key thing here is the contrast with what we just talked about. Definite adjectives are all about sharp, precise numbers. Indefinite adjectives, they're about giving you a sense of the amount, a fuzzy but still really useful picture. And here are some of the heavy hitters. Think about how often you use words like many, some, and several. They give us so much flexibility, letting us get an idea across without being locked into a specific number. This is a fantastic real-world example. The word many tells us this is a big problem, a significant number of people. But it doesn't tie us to a hard statistic. It conveys the weight of the issue, and sometimes that's more powerful. All right, time for our third and final category, and this one is a little more nuanced. Let's meet the distributive adjectives. These are pretty cool because they focus on the individuals inside a bigger group. Now, you might be thinking, hey, that sounds a lot like those indefinite ones. And you're not wrong, they're similar, but their job is different. Instead of looking at the group as a whole, they zoom right in on each single member, one by one. Okay, this side-by-side really nails the difference. If you say you like some songs, you're talking about a chunk of the album, the group. But if you say you like each song, that means you've considered every single song individually, and they're all winners. See how the focus shifts from the whole to the parts? And this just locks it in. It wasn't the group of students that was asked. Nope. It was every single individual student. The word each literally distributes the action to every person in that group. So we've got our 3 types, definite, indefinite, and distributive. But why does any of this really matter? Well, because the specific word you choose can completely change the entire feeling of what you're saying. And to prove it, let's just look at 2 sentences. They describe the exact same situation, but a tiny one-word change is going to alter the entire vibe. Just listen to how that lands. Only a few. It feels a little sad, doesn't it? There's a hint of disappointment, like the turnout was smaller than you hoped. The tone is definitely a bit negative. Now, look at this. Several could be the exact same number as a few, maybe 3 or 4 people, but the feeling? Totally different. This sounds neutral, maybe even a little positive. Hey, several people showed up. The reality is the same, but the perception is night and day.
So, here's the bottom line. Understanding these subtle differences gives you control. It gives you power. It lets you shape your message, manage the tone, and communicate not just facts, but feelings.
So the next time you find yourself saying some or few or every, just take a second to think about it. Are you being precise? Are you being vague on purpose? Your choice says more than you might think. So what story are your numbers really telling?